Relations Committee, Senator Chris Coons of Delaware is joining us. Senator, thanks very much for joining us.
Great to be with you.
Well, let me get your quick reaction to your fellow Delawarean, that's people from Delaware are called Delawareans,
yes.
The Vice President, Joe Biden. Grow up, Donald, grow up. Time to be an adult. You're president.
Well, I frankly think on this very show, I've previously said, Mr. President-elect, put the phone down, stop tweeting. And I think many of us on both parties are concerned that conducting foreign policy by tweet, that conducting domestic affairs by throwing insults back and forth. He called Senator Chuck Schumer a clown. That's what prompted this response.
He said he was the head clown.
The head clown. Well, I frankly, as one of the clowns in the Democratic caucus, according to that tweet, didn't think it was very funny. And I don't think it's constructive for us to have a president-elect who's carrying on this way. I frankly hope that he's going to begin communicating in a slightly more measured and balanced way, because we've got some very big national security challenges facing us. And the point of the hearing today in front of the Senate Armed Services Committee, in a bipartisan way, was to get to the bottom of these allegations about Russian hacking of our elections. It's a very serious matter, and it calls for serious bipartisan action.
He's going to be briefed tomorrow by the leaders of the U.S. intelligence community on this report that was made available to President Obama today, all classified. It'll be made available to him tomorrow. Let's say he emerges from that session and still is raising questions about Russia's involvement in the cyber attacks in the U.S. election. What do you do about that?
Well, I think he's finding that there is strong bipartisan support for us to take decisive action against Russia. I think Senator Lindsey Graham of South Carolina said today that he's looking forward to throwing not pebbles but stones at Russia for having directly attacked our electoral system. It's understandable that he's expressing some skepticism about intelligence that he hasn't seen yet. But once he's been fully briefed, I think it'd be hard to believe if he continued to be disparaging of the American intelligence community. It strikes me as a very unwise move if he continues on this path.
When he was saying nice things on Twitter about Julian Assange, right, quoting him, if you will, and citing statements that he's made denying that Russia provided that information to WikiLeaks, what was your reaction to that?
It's just, sadly, a continuation of a previous theme. He cited Julian Assange and WikiLeaks regularly in the campaign and said this is a great source of truth and used it to attack his opponent regularly. Now that he's president-elect, my hope is that he'll take seriously what Senator McCain raised in today's hearing, which is that Julian Assange is someone who has put Americans' lives at risk, someone who obviously has directly attacked the American intelligence community, and he shouldn't be casually citing him as someone, as a reliable source of credible information.
You regard Julian Assange as an enemy of the United States?
Yes.
And if the U.S. got its hands on him, what should the U.S. do?
Well, we certainly shouldn't dismiss or pardon his very strong actions against the United States. He sought refuge in a foreign country's embassy. And it's my view that people who disclose national secrets to the United States ought to be prosecuted to the full extent of the law.
There are some Democrats, a whole bunch of Republicans, but even some Democrats like Adam Schiff, for example, the ranking Democrat on the House Intelligence Committee, who believe the Obama administration has not done enough over the past year or two in responding to these cyber attacks by foreign governments. The Chinese attack, for example, on the Office of Personnel Management back in 2015, and wasn't immediately responding to the Russian cyber attack on the U.S. election. Are you with Schiff on that? Do you criticize the administration for not doing enough?
I think this is a challenge both in Congress and the administration. Frankly, we're stovepiped in how we deal with cyber matters in the Senate. We have as many.
What does that mean?
We have as many as 6 different committees of the Senate that have some responsibility for cyber matters, because cyber issues have come up in a bunch of different areas. So whether it's the Commerce Committee or it's the Armed Services Committee or the Intelligence Committee, Foreign Relations Committee, we have a lot of different committees. And so we've acted as different stovepipes and failed to come up with a common, cohesive national strategy. I do share Congressman Schiff's concerns that the administration should have responded more adeptly and more brusquely to Russia's attack on our election. But I frankly think we need to look forward in a bipartisan way at the next election and make sure that we've done what we need to do to secure America's electoral system.
Because it was a month before the election on October 7th, the Director of National Intelligence, the Secretary of Homeland Security, said Russia did it, and it was at the highest levels. Right. But it took until a few days ago for the U.S. to take steps at the end of the year and expel 35 Russian diplomats, close some Russian buildings, if you will, here in the United States, and impose some new sanctions. Why did it take so long?
Well, I'm not sure what the deliberations were within the executive branch, within the administration. I think there was concerns about retaliation, and I think there was concerns about taking action before the election, that might be seen as trying to skew the election. But I don't know. I haven't been briefed on that in detail. My concern is that we will see more attacks on America's electoral system, and we need to take responsible steps to secure our future elections.
The responsible steps, very quickly, when a country like Russia, let's say, attacks the United States, cyber attacks, should the U.S. retaliate with its own cyber attacks? Because the U.S., as you know, is a lot better at cyber attacks than the Russians or the Chinese or the North Koreans or the Iranians.
We have a significant arsenal of resources in terms of cyber combat, and I do think we need to strike back strongly in ways that are both overt and covert. Expelling a number of Russian diplomats who we know to be intelligence agents was the overt action. There's other things we can and should do covertly. I think it's important that our adversaries know that we're going to take notice and we're going to fight back when others attack our electoral system, which is at the very heart of our democracy.
Because at least so far, a lot of these countries think they can get away with it.
That's right.
Because they haven't felt the pain from the United States, either overtly or covertly. That's
right.
For that matter, apparently. All right, Senator, we have more to discuss. We'll continue our analysis right after this.